So somehow I must have clicked some kind of link. No, it's not the link you're thinking. I was actually trying to find one of the old games I used to play on a computer. I got hacked, like properly hacked. Guys, here's a quick and easy way on how to make informed decisions even when you have limited information and you don't really know what to do in the moment. And I'm going to share an example from my own life where I was in a situation that required I make a decision. And I'm not talking about a decision of which socks you're going to wear today, but I've had to take a lot of decisions, especially in business, or in which direction my own life is going to go, and the career and everything, and all of us have to make these decisions. But this one is a very particular example. So maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I got hacked, like properly hacked. And I'm someone who is really good with computers, and I know what I'm doing on there, and I know exactly how these things work, but somehow I'm the one that got hacked. So somehow I must have clicked some kind of link. No, it's not the link you're thinking. I was actually trying to find one of the old games I used to play on a computer, like a really old game, and I was going through all kinds of sites to find it. And it obviously, as I traced back, I think I clicked a pretty suspicious website that made me download some kind of virus. And turns out, the next morning I woke up and got on my computer and everything was different. I had ransomware. What the fuck is that? I have never heard of it. It was very interesting because there was a README file, like a text file that said README on there, and so I clicked it, and on there it basically said that I have your information, I got this and that. It started listing my personal information, my credit cards, debit cards, passwords to everything, and a screenshot of what I was doing on the computer and how they have all my shit. And naturally, of course, you can imagine, I was like, what the fuck? What is this? I literally felt under attack. And before I knew it, on all my social media pages, there were some kind of crypto scams getting posted, and to certain things, just like certain accounts, my passwords were getting changed. And it was all happening as I was there on my computer in the morning. And I was thinking, how the hell do I stop this? I mean, they're doing this right now. I need to take back control. It's not like they're controlling my computer or anything. It's just that they have my information, so they now can do anything they want with it. And before anything bad happens, I have to do something about it. So naturally, first thing I thought, well, because this involves my passport, my ID and everything, I'm going to go to the police station and basically say that, hey, if there's anything weird done in my name, it's probably not me because I got hacked, right? Naturally, when you go to the police station with a legitimate reason that you think police should be involved in, or not even that they can solve that, the fact that they can at least put a note saying that this individual's ID was compromised, identity theft, whatever. But no, they were even more useful than that. I went there in the middle of the night, so it was very late. I walked inside the police station, there was nobody there. I sat on the chair, I waited. And I was like, why the fuck isn't anybody coming? The building's open. And then I randomly hear voices and 2 people come out, and it's police. And they immediately fucking jump back, grab their hips, or whatever their gun is there, or their tasers, whatever, and they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just sitting, I'm waiting for you guys. Why are you waiting for us? Because I have a report to make. That's what a police station's for. They were not worried about any of that. They were too concerned with how did I get in there? How did I break in the building when nobody's there, and just sat there? I must be out of my mind. Turns out the place was supposed to be closed and they never locked the door. And so I just got in when I wasn't intended to be in there. Well, either way, they were way too off guard. And then when I actually told them my actual issue, they basically were useless and said, oh, this is nothing to do with us. Fucking amazing. So back to the original story from the sub-story. I started going through all my important accounts one by one, emails, whatever was important, and trying to claim back ownership because I would have to change my password back again. And usually if you want to do that, you also have to provide ID, but they had my ID so they could do that. So it was a whole pain in the ass. Then I got an email from some weird ass address saying that check your files, all of your files have been encrypted. Classic, this is ransomware, right? So I look at all my pictures, everything on my computer. It's basically, in other words, locked. It's under a lock and a special password is needed to unlock it. Otherwise, the file is useless. You can't open it. And I was like, well, no problem. Everything's backed up on my hard drive. I have an external hard drive. But it turns out it was plugged into my computer. So guess what? The entire hard drive was also compromised. And then I was like, all right, shit, now I'm really in trouble. And it turns out what this hacker, so-called, wanted was for me to send him a certain amount of Bitcoin to basically get all my shit back. And then he also put a timer on it. He said, you have 1 week. I will be counting down every single day. And if you do not do it after 1 week, if you do not send us the money, then just forget about your files, everything's gone. And so I sat there, and after I ended up switching all the passwords, trying to recover as many things as I could, ordered new credit cards, everything, just really took care of all the bullshit. I had a really big decision to make because I was about 20 years old, university student, I had a part-time job, I had a car to pay for, and the amount he was asking for, it was in Bitcoin, but it was about $1,200. And I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. Like, that's not a joke. Maybe if you're someone with a stable job and you're not, maybe you're out of university, you're working full time, you can find some money for that. But I was like, what? It's not $100, it's over $1,000. That's way too much for some files. But on the other hand, those files a lot of them are pictures of basically everything. My entire life on the computer, my entire phone galleries, everything that I've had up to that point from like 10, 12 years old was on there. Every single thing that I've done, all my projects, schoolwork, everything was there. And I thought, damn, I'm gonna end up losing that. Like, I've lost files before where I would forget to back something up and then I'd delete it and I would lose some valuable memories and files. That was unfortunate. But in this case, I would lose everything. Everything I've gathered up until this point. And I thought, yeah, but fucking $1,000, $1,200 in files, some pictures. How do I make the decision? Of course, there's a timer on it. And another thing I have to consider is that I cannot trust the hacker is being honest. How do I know he's not just going to screw me over? How do I know you can even fix these files? I did a bunch of research, other people getting ransomware, and some said, yes, they actually send you the key after you send the money. Some say, no, it's bullshit. Everybody has a different experience. So in my head, it's like 50-50. So even if I end up sending that money, I would have been out over $1,000 and files both. That was a possibility. And I've looked for every other way to recover those files, but basically whoever encrypted the files, whoever made the lock, is gonna have the key. That's it. You can't easily reproduce that. So this was a really, really hard decision to make because it was like 50-50. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's a lot of memories. And maybe some of you guys thinking there, well, it's a no-brainer. You can always make the money back, but then your files, your pictures, you'll never get them back. And that's easy to say when you're not in the actual situation. Remember how much money was worth to you while you were a broke-ass student. Before inflation, like that was a lot of money. and you'd have to pay for tuition, and you were working a part-time job that you hated. That would suck to give that. So you're basically weighing doing that, giving the money, and recovering some files. And at that point I thought, well, maybe I could live without the files. But then one day I woke up and the decision was super, super clear. It was the easiest decision of my life. I didn't realize, why didn't I just think of this? So yes, I have all my files, everything on there. Not only that, I have my younger sister's pictures of when she was born and her entire babyhood, basically, on there. My parents didn't even have that. I was the one doing most of the filming and taking pictures and editing and making them into videos. And then also, it wasn't guaranteed that I would get those files back. But on the other hand, it's fucking $1,200 for a broke student. And I was extremely certain. I logged into one of my crypto accounts or wallets and sent over the amount and sent an email saying, I sent it over to the address you provided. This felt like the longest wait of my life. I would wake up in the middle of the night just checking if he had replied, or if he just ghosted me after that because the money was sent. I was getting dreams about how he never replied. I was getting dreams about how he did reply. So those nights were sleepless. And finally he replied. But it wasn't the reply I was hoping for. A few days later, he said, I'll check if the money's there. I haven't received any notification. I remember waking up super early and seeing that. And I was like, fuck. Seriously, this is it? And fast forward another couple days, I got the email with the encryption code, and I invited my brother over who does IT, and with him we sat down and decrypted all of the files, so everything was fine. So how did I get to that decision? How did I suddenly decide and I was super certain? While the fact that I'm gonna get scammed on top of getting hacked, the fact that I would send money and not receive it was uncertain, I was still certain in my decision. And the way I took that decision is by simply enlarging the picture. Enlarge your perspective. Increase the frame of reference. And as soon as you increase the frame of reference and then put the two and two together, it's going to be extremely obvious what's the right decision. In the grand scheme of things, I had the capacity to understand maybe right now $1,200 is a lot of money for me, but in the future, I'm going to earn so many more thousands anyway. I know I'll make it back. If you even end up with a $50,000 a year job, you're only spending one of those thousands. You're just cashing it in early when you basically didn't have the money for that. And it was an extremely high expense to pay. But I basically asked myself, if I was 30 years old and if I was presented an opportunity for $5,000, for $10,000 to get all my files back in that moment, would I do it? And without a doubt, I was like, fuck yeah. If I was 30 making decent money, it didn't matter. I would easily give away 5, 10K just to get my shit back. Of course. That was the right decision. I made the decision by enlarging the picture and asking myself that question in the future. And the future me would say, yes, do it. Even if it's not guaranteed, do it. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? Sometimes the scope is not large enough for you to make an informed decision. You may have limited information. There are so many uncertainties, risks. Enlarge the picture. widen the scope. It's going to be so much easier to decide. And as soon as I thought, yeah, of course, I'd pay way more money just to get it back, suddenly the $1,000 purchase for my files back was not even that much. Don't get me wrong, I still put a fucking dent in my pocket at the time, but in the grand scheme of things, it was nothing. I didn't want to be that guy that would say I would give anything, any amount of money, just to get all of my childhood files and memories back. But my younger, dumbass self thought $1,000 is too much. He decided, nah, it's not worth it. And even in the moment, after I got my files back, I still wasn't sure if it was worth it. I thought, did I even make the right decision? I just felt it's right, and I was certain, but I still felt the pain of losing all that money to nothing. I didn't have to get hacked like that, right? And getting my files back, I never felt like I lost them. Like, well, I just had them a week ago, and a week later I have them back. So I basically started with what I had, except minus $1,000. So it didn't feel good at all. But after time passed, especially right now, I'm looking back, I'm so fucking glad I made that decision. I'm so glad I decided to zoom out and thought, you know what? You're gonna make so much more money. You'd pay thousands of dollars just to get that shit back. So I'm definitely glad I made that decision back then. And following that, of course, there were so many more decisions to make. And every single time I had to make a serious decision, I would just enlarge the scope. And you will find that it makes it so much easier to decide, because in the grand scheme of things, most things don't actually matter. If you're choosing A or B, chances are neither A or B are going to matter in 2 years from now, in 5 years from now, or in your entire life. Even if you think, shit, I need to choose a career right now for my entire life, chances are 5 years later you're going to be doing something else. Chances are you might graduate from university and you're going to be doing a completely different job. So in the grand scheme of things, everything always changes, and most of those things don't have a large lasting impact. So just consider everything at a larger scale. If you guys like the things I share, feel free to follow me. Other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one.